So come the storms of winter, and then the birds in spring again. I have no fear of time, for who knows how my love grows, and who knows where the time goes. When I climbed the stairs to this pulpit for the first time, it was in spring of the year 2000, during my 9-day-long job interview with you. I was 34 years old. I've spent 23 and a half years climbing the steps to this pulpit almost weekly, except for the few months that I was too pregnant to fit up here, literally. And then during the 2 COVID years when we were filming the service and we needed to stay at the low pulpit for the camera angle. I have aged behind this pulpit, my friends. And staying in one place for so long, I have had the most amazing view of time going by. The kids who were almost teenagers when I got here are now adults in their 30s, and some of them are having children of their own. I marvel. The other day, Niall Staven came into my office to say hello and told me he had just turned 30, but I remember him as clear as yesterday, as a 7-year-old with dark hair and big eyes and the best freckles across his nose. And I like to remind Austin Edwards, now somewhere in his late 20s, at every possible opportunity, how my very first Christmas Eve here, he toddled up the center aisle in the middle of the Christmas service and climbed into my lap. And it was the moment I knew I had become the minister of this congregation. And I told myself to remember, and that I would always, always welcome toddlers to climb into my lap during church. Austin is old enough now that he is not even embarrassed by that story. One of the most important things we do here together is to keep time, or not exactly keep time, because of course we can't keep it. But we mark it here. We honor it. We celebrate it. And because we are a community of faith, with holidays and rituals and milestones that come around again and again, we keep a different kind of time here than other places. And the more frenzied the culture we live in becomes, the more important it is that we keep a different time here. Theologians call the time that religious communities keep sacred time or liturgical time. It refers to a slower way of doing things, a time that is marked by the turning of the year, by the seasons of the earth and the seasons of our lives. A time that goes at the speed of trust, as Lee likes to say. A time that is marked by cycles and stories which are repeated annually, by rites of passage that endure over generations. This is one of the most precious things I think a religious community can offer, a way to locate ourselves in time that is also somehow timeless. And we do this in a couple of ways here. And one is that this is a place and a time where we remind ourselves and each other to be here now. The children who know more about living in the present moment than we do call us into worship each week by ringing our meditation bowl. And then so much of what happens in this hour is about inviting ourselves and nudging ourselves and encouraging ourselves to pay attention, to listen, to watch, to sing, to pray, to breathe. This is a time for being still, for letting our souls catch up with the rest of us. And the other way we locate ourselves in that timeless time here is in the cycles of our year. We measure time by holy days here. The church year begins with gathering up our summer water so we can use it to bless whatever needs a blessing in the year ahead. And then it's the Jewish high holy days. And then it's All Souls Day and Thanksgiving, and then Advent and Hanukkah and winter solstice and Christmas. The New Year's Eve, the New Year's shelter lunch making service, and then the long, slow season of Lent we are about to enter, waiting for the mud season and the first signs of spring. And then Easter comes. And then the end of the church year with the bridging for our oldest youth and Celebration Sunday. And then we move into summer church, and then September comes and it all begins again. The cycle of the year, marked by the death of loved ones and the naming of new babies. The speaking out loud of our joys and sorrows, the lighting of candles, the singing of songs, the building of relationships, the repair of those relationships, the creation of trust. The children grow older along with the rest of us. And so it has gone long before us. And so we hope it will continue long after us. And every time we do this, our congregation is both different and the same. Because of course our beloveds die. And people move away or choose to leave, and new people come, and just as importantly, every time we do it, we ourselves are both different and the same. This is why I remind you every single year on Yom Kippur that the holiday has to keep coming around and keep coming around, because unfortunately for us, forgiveness is not a one-time deal. Forgiveness is a practice and a process, and one of these years, we might just be ready to take it on in a new or a deeper way. But the same is true for every single holiday, for every story. Every year, we get an invitation to wait through the darkness of Advent for the light to come back. Every year, another invitation to prepare ourselves through the season of Lent for the rebirth and renewal to come. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Williams, talks about how communal religious practice helps us stay in a fruitful relationship with time. He says that by repeatedly returning to the rituals and stories of sacred time, we can find new aspects of those stories, but also new aspects of ourselves. In this way, he thinks that instead of time feeling so shapeless and accelerated as it does for so many of us, if we stay close to sacred time, time can become more like a spiral, a circle that goes deeper and deeper. And he believes it matters that we do this together as a part of community, because community is so much bigger than our individual lives. It is so much bigger than this present moment. It stretches forward and backwards in time. And that helps us to place ourselves in time in a different way. The author and philosopher Alain de Botton writes about the practical uses of philosophy in everyday life. And when I was so sick the week after Christmas and time slowed way down for me, I had time to read one of the essays from his new book called Lessons from the School of Life. It's his essay about time, about the strange way it speeds up or slows down depending on what is happening, so that an hour in the dentist chair feels like an eternity, and an hour laughing with friends over lunch feels like an instant. Or the way when my kids were little, the days sometimes felt completely endless. But the years have sped by to the point where they can legally order a beer on their next birthday. But Alain de Botton gives out the secret to living longer in his essay, and I'm going to give it to you. The secret to living longer has nothing to do with kale or aerobic exercise, unless you truly love those things, in which case it does. But the secret of living longer is to live deeper so that it feels longer. That's all there is to it. Live deeper. Luckily for all of us, we're already practicing that here in a lot of ways. But we can practice living in deeper time all the rest of the hours of our weeks too. He talks about the reason why time felt so long to most of us when we were children. Remember how summers felt as a kid? And the reason he thinks that is because of the wild newness of so many things when we were children. The wonder of the first time we swam across the pool, or learning to ride a two-wheeler bike, or losing baby teeth and waiting for the tooth fairy. The wonder of how adults seem to always know when we were lying. The first time we really grieved. There is so much that is new and surprising and wonderful when we are kids, but as we grow older, we get accustomed to things, and our days become more and more the same, and so the faster they pass. De Botton writes, by middle age, things can be counted on to have grown a lot more familiar. We no longer get excited by the idea of eating a pineapple or flicking a light switch. We know about relationships, earning money, telling others what to do. And as a result, time runs away from us without mercy. But he believes that if we practice that kind of wonder, that kind of newness which we can practice no matter how old we are, our time will slow down again. Our days will feel longer, and we'll get to live more in the days we have left. Wonder is about how we approach the world. It's about how we see it and feel it and listen to it. It really has nothing to do with encountering new things or new places, lest you're thinking, I have to get on a plane and go to Machu Picchu, which most of us simply cannot do. Wonder is how we see what is already around us, the things and the people and the places we think we know. So we don't need to be constantly seeing new things. We need to learn to see the familiar things with new eyes. Luckily, most of us move through our days without actually noticing a lot, without really seeing or feeling or experiencing so much of what is already there. So there's actually no end to what we can discover. Just this week, I asked Alan what color the walls are in his office. His office is actually just a little hallway off the kitchen, and you have to pass through it to get to the living room. And I have walked through that hallway, 40 times a day. And I've done this for how long have we lived in the house? 8 years? So you do the math. I have no idea what the colors of the walls are, because I had never looked at them. So I went and I looked, and they are, in fact, the same green as the living room. And I could give you about 10 million more examples of this for just the last week. What does a robin sound like? What does snow really feel like on your skin? What does an orange taste like? Can we live for even 45 seconds a day as if we don't know? Because so much of the time we don't. Can you encounter something again today? Let it be your partner's hand or your own. It will be new if you really look at it and feel it. Can the taste of soup be a surprise and a revelation? It will be if you really taste it. Which brings me back again to what we do here in this room, which is to try again and again to just pay attention to what is here. The winter light coming through the windows, the breathing of our neighbors, the feel of the quiet, the presence of a love we cannot touch, but is nonetheless so real and holds us all.